Okay, so we're going to just start off first with just a general overview of like just a navigational overview on how to navigate Jamboard and what all the different features are that you can do in it. Some of this might be a lot of you might already know, but you never know. You might see something you didn't know about uh, while we go through. So to get the Jamboard, there's 100 different ways to do it. Uh, I always have it, which you can't see now, but I have which would be right up on top here. I have my bookmarks bar, which I always put things I'm putting there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to share my full screen just for a second so I can show you that, because I think it's pretty useful to see that. If you don't use it, it's a game changer for me. So you can see, actually, I can just leave this as I go through. It's no difference for now because I got no audio. Ignore. All right. So you can see here across the top, I got a bookmarks bar. So I put all my bookmarks there, which is just a continuation of your bookmarks here, right? And if you're unsure how to put that on, you have the three little breadcrumbs here, and you're going to go down to bookmarks. Then you're going to toggle on show bookmarks bar. Okay, and then it will bring up kind of this blank bar here. And as you go to a website, for example, this is one of the test ones later. If you go to a website, you just click on your little lock, I guess is like a lock thing there, and you click and drag it down and drop it on the bookmarks bar, and it stays there forever. So then all I got to do is click on that to get to wherever you want to go. Or, so I have my Jamboard one there, so I just got to click this to get to my Jamboard area. Or you can simply just type into Google Jamboard like this, and when you hit, oh, what's going on there? That's interesting. Okay. You type into just type in Jamboard into Google, and you should get a Google search with Jamboard, and then you just click on Jamboard, and it will bring you to all your Jamboards that you already have here like this. Okay. If you want to start a new Jamboard, once you're in here, down on the bottom, there's a plus symbol. So you hit that to open up a new jam. So I'll do that. And now I'm here in a new jam. Okay, so a few things we take note. Right away up top here, just like a Google slide or a Google Doc, you can name your jam. Right now it's an untitled jam. Just put in test there for now. So I changed it to test, okay? I'm going to stay across the top here. When we come up top over here in the signal is the expand frame bar. So when I click on that, the pages or frames, is what they call them. They're like pages, come up here, okay? There's breadcrumbs on every frame. So let me just close this and do a new. If I want to start a new frame, I just hit this arrow button. See, it says create frame. Of course, toggling over anything, it'll bring up what it is. So now I have two frames and I can toggle back and forth between them. If I want to delete one, I have to expand the frame bar. I have to click on the breadcrumb on the frame I want to delete. I can duplicate it or I can delete it. Okay. So that's the expand frame bar feature. I'm not going to do this right now. Present, and I don't really use this ever. Present to a meeting. I don't know if Stacy, have you ever used that feature there? I've never used it before.
No, I noticed it today though. So it just presents straight to your Google Meet.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I guess it could be handy, but usually we're doing that with links anyway. Let me see. I won't go here yet. I'm going to go down now to this here is obviously the undo button. If you like to use shortcuts like I do, of course, Control Z is always your friend. If you do something that you don't know what you did, just hit Control Z or the undo button. Of course, redo button. This here is a zoom button, which sometimes can come in handy depending on what activity you're doing. And of course, you can click on that and do just like in Google Slides, fit the screen, percentages, all that stuff. The next thing is set your background. You can do, there's limited on what templates they have already, but what they do have is pretty great because one of the templates they do have, which I use a bit, is a graph paper. So when I change the background, now it's graph. So the background is set now. They can't move it. Students can't move it. Everything I lay over the top of this will end up, you know, they won't move the background behind it. You can also put in your own picture as a background. So a lot of teachers will create, if they're creating a Bitmoji classroom, and then they save a Google slide page as a JPEG, and then they could upload it to here as a background, right? So you just click your image and you select a photo from either your computer. You could actually put it in a URL. If you find one, you can do a camera. You can take a picture of yourself and put it in the background. Google Image Search, exactly the same way it works in Google Slides, actually. So even a Google Image Search, or your pictures from your Google Drive or from your Google Photos, or straight from your computer. Okay. Next is clear frame, and it does just that. It clears the frame, not the background, just anything that's in it, any one of these things here you use. Okay. So, and speaking of these things, let's go through them. So the first one here, now I'm going to hand you a little pen here. I've got a Wacom tablet, but when students use this, be cognizant that, I mean, if they have a touch screen, it's a little easier for them to write and zoom in and write, pinch and zoom and stuff. But otherwise, they're writing with a mouse. So it's okay for simpler math type things. They're writing numbers and stuff. But I mean, they're not going to be writing big, long words and stuff. They're going to use the other features for writing. But this pen feature is simply that. It's a pen. You can change. There's a pen, there's a marker, there's a highlighter, and there's a brush. And there's a few different colors here as well. And it simply just marks on the screen, right? Like this. There's the eraser button, of course, which you can erase just like you would on a smart board, or hit your friend Control Z, of course. This is the arrow button, just like in Google Slides. And I like to refer to Google Slides a lot because Jamboard is technically like Google Slides, but in a reduced functionality. It can do less things, sort of, kind of in a different way. So this is the pointer select tool. So you can, this is what you would move things around with. And then next is the sticky note. So a sticky note comes up and they can type in their name or whatever you want to use the sticky notes for. You can hit enter here and let it come, which is annoying, I find. But you have to hit save, and then it comes up on your board, and you click off, and you can drag it anywhere. You can make it larger. You can flip it around. Again, the same functionality as Google Slides for any kind of object you put in Google Slides. Okay, that's the sticky note. Add image, just like you did in the background, set background. It gives you the exact same function, except now it's not going to be a background. You're going to be able to move it around. So Google Image Search, for example, I'm just going to put in dog because hopefully that's safe. And I like this dog here. I had a golden retriever for 12 years. So I click on him. Then down bottom, I just hit insert. And that puts that dog picture in there. I can drag it around. I can make it bigger. I can delete it. I can duplicate it. And I can change the order. I can bring it ahead of things or behind things. So for example, if I put it over this sticky note now it's over it, see? But if I change the order to send to back, now my sticky note goes over it, okay? Again, same in Google Slides. So that's add image. Then we have a shape tool, which is great for math, especially if you're using the background, graph paper. So shapes, we got general shapes here that you can use. And of course, you click on one of those. And when you come in there, you get a crosshairs and you just click and drag and let go. And there's your shape. Up here, you can change the outline color to like blue. You can change the fill color, for example, to red. And of course, you can click and drag and rotate. Good for transformational geometry, for example. Again, you can duplicate, delete, and change the order of that as well. The next thing is a text box. So the text box here, same thing, you click on it, and just like you would in Google Slides, you click, or you can't click and drag in here, you just click, and the text box automatically comes up. Then you can write in whatever you like, and click off it, and there it is. You can click that and move it around. Of course, up here, you can change the text size. You can't change by point size like you can in a Google Doc or in Google Slides. You're limited to these 5 sizes: display size and title, subtitle, normal, caption. You can still change the color though, of course, to those colors. Now, I think there's a custom one, but it's not coming up on mine. Is there a custom color change, Stacy, for text and pen? I thought there was, but for some reason maybe it's an update, or maybe I'm
Not
wrong.
that I know of.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
That'd be cool.
Maybe someday. Yeah, exactly. But like I said, me and Stacy were discussing earlier, if they changed Jamboard and put too many features in it, it basically becomes Google Slides then. So it's kind of pointless. So you can also change from within your text box, of course. You can change either right justify, left justify, or center in your text box. And you can't change the background, like the fill block behind your text. Yet anyway. The last thing is a laser pointer, which is pretty handy. It basically lets you just, when you click and drag, I want it to draw attention to this beautiful creature's face. I just circle and it disappears. Whatever you mark, it eventually just disappears. Especially the littles, like I know my grade ones, and they first used this, that's all they wanted to do was play with the laser for like 17 hours. So, let them get it out of their system, because that will be there for them to use, right? They love doing that. Okay. Should I talk about share here, Stacy, or?
No, we can wait on that one because it's going to come up in next part.
Okay, cool. And I think that's pretty much all, unless you can think of something I didn't cover there.
No, I think that's pretty good. So that's kind of the navigational overview of Jamboard. Is there any questions? We're going to talk next about how to use Jamboard in a Meet and in Google Classroom, but any questions so far? Very quiet group. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to present. I'm going to present this call actually, and I'm going to hopefully not get that feedback that I've gotten before, because I think if I present the window, I should be good. All right. All right. So you will see that kind of infinity browser that's like mirrors upon mirrors upon mirrors, but that's okay because what I'm going to be using, you'll see come up, it's the activity feature of Google Meet. So Jamboard is one of the activities in Google Meet. So if you go down to the activities in the bottom right corner, you'll see the triangle, square, circle, the activities, and the very last one is whiteboarding. Okay. And whiteboarding is actually a Jamboard. Okay. So if you click there, it'll give you two options to either start a new whiteboard or to choose one from your drive. So I'm just going to go over each. So a new whiteboard will be one that's entirely blank. So for example, if I was teaching a math concept maybe, and I just wanted to bring up a whiteboard really quick to be able to show a few things, and it hadn't really been like maybe part of my plan, but things are coming up and I just want to show the students really quick how to convert fractions or something. Then I'd probably go here and press start a new whiteboard. And you'll see it's going to ask me about my sharing settings. So it's going to ask me, for everyone in the call, do I want you guys to be able to view the whiteboard? So that means that you're not going to be able to do anything on the whiteboard. You're just going to be able to see what I'm doing on the whiteboard. Or do I want you to be able to edit the whiteboard? In which case, all of you would be able to, write things on the whiteboard, add sticky notes, that kind of thing. So in this case, I'm going to just say view. And then I'm going to press send. And what that's going to do is it's going to open a new Jamboard for me. And then in the chat, you should have gotten a link to the Jamboard. And I can see some people joining it now. So if you look in the chat and you click on the link, you will be able to see the Jamboard. You're not going to be able to do anything with it because I had clicked view only. So you're only going to be able to see kind of what I do with it. So if I wanted to illustrate, say I was illustrating mixed numbers to improper fractions, I might be able to make a quick note and do that with my students here. And that's kind of, similar to if you were writing on a whiteboard in a classroom, being able to show them that. So that's what the kind of view only whiteboard would do. And you can start one there on the spot. So I'm going to close out of that one now. But is there any questions about that? All right. Then the next one I can do, instead of starting a new one, say I had something already in my Google Drive. So I had kind of prepared for my lesson and I had made something in my Google Drive that I wanted to share with my students in my Meet. I'm going to go ahead and choose from Drive. So for me, this is the one I tend to use the most often. Like I said, I tend to use Start a New Whiteboard when it's a quick concept. And then I use Choose from Drive when I have something already prepared. Oh yeah, it opened in a different window, but you could see it in the chat. Right? But I'll present that window as well. All right, perfect. So I'm going to go whiteboarding. Now I'm going to go choose from Drive. And you should be able to see here. So different Jamboards that I've used recently will come up in the order. So I've already got one prepared. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it's asking me again. Now this time, this is a Jamboard I want you guys to be able to use. Okay, so I don't want you to just watch me use it. I want you to be able to interact with it. So instead of saying view, I'm going to go ahead and click edit. Okay, so that you will be able to edit it. So I'm going to send that so you'll be able to go into the chat. And let me see. I'm going to, so this is where that present, I'll present this tab now. Okay. So now this is one, we're going to give you a slideshow at the end with links to resources. And this one is there. This is from at Mrs. Park Shine. So I didn't make this, but I have found it really useful. And what I do with it is I give each of my students a number. And then as they come in, there's a question. And then they answer that question. So what they do is they go over and grab a sticky note. Okay. And so the question is, if you were an animal, what would you be? My favorite animal is a giraffe. So I'm going to say giraffe. Okay. And then they know to put it on their number. But if you guys want to go ahead and try that, you can pick any number. You can make a sticky note and answer the question. If you were an animal, what would you be? And just put it on any number you want. So you'll see they all kind of populate in the same place. So you got to drag yours to a number. And you can, some people have discovered, change the color as well, of course, as Stephen mentioned earlier. So I can click on that. And if I want to make it blue, I can do that. Okay. So I found this can be like kind of a fun check, especially at the beginning. I usually have it up and then they come in and they, I'll add their answer. Oh, we're getting all filled up. If you want to double up on some numbers, you can. And they can kind of, I'll add their answer. And there's several there, but I've there's one here where they find a meme or a GIF that describes how they feel today. They really enjoyed that one and put that one in. But I've also just changed it to a question like, how can we work as a class today? That kind of thing. So that's, just one example, but that's how you can kind of open it up from Google Meet. And my camera's off. You can open it up from Google Meet, and then you can have students interact with it as long as you make it when you open it so that everyone can edit it. So is there a way to see who's moving what sticky around? That's a great question. So I'm just going to go back for a second. So you can kind of see in the corner their little profile picture, I guess. The other thing is up here in the settings, in more actions, at the very bottom, so where those three vertical dots are, snowman, whatever you want to call it, at the very bottom, there is a version history. So I can click there. Like if I really wanted to go back, I wouldn't regularly do this, but if I really wanted to go back and kind of see, I could click there and I might, now you guys were all kind of doing it at the same time, so I'm not getting too much of one, but if it was more spread out, then you would be able to see in more detail, kind of who had done what. But other than that, there's no real easy way to see, but you do have a version history here. Okay. All right. And you can, if someone deleted something, you can go back and restore a version as well. All right. So that is whiteboarding as an activity feature in Google Meet. So you can start a new one on the spot, or you can open one you already had, and then you can have everyone in the Meet either just view it or give them editing access so they can all interact like we just did. Okay. So I'll hand it over to you, Stephen.
All right, so now we're going to go over, so Stacy did Jamboard as an activity in Google Meet, like kind of a live synchronous one. I'm going to go over assigning Jamboards in Google Classroom. There's certain things I do this for. I don't do it a lot, but there are basically two or three really ways you can assign something in Google Classroom. I'm going to show you how to do it, but one of the ways is to assign an individual thing so that all your students receive their own copy of the Jamboard that you could look at individually in Google Classroom. Or you can assign a Jamboard in Google Classroom so that everyone is collaboratively working in the same Jamboard, or just assign one that they can view only and look at, like Stacy was showing. So I'll share my screen and show you. I'm going to do the whole window again because that's just easier to flip back and forth. We don't have a classroom, but I've got, this is the TESIC classroom. I got one started for my kids. There's my two lovely children and wife. If I go to classwork, this is where I'm going to start a Jamboard to put in my Google Classroom, okay? So you're going to create, just like you would putting a Google Slides or anything like that, you're going to create either an assignment. You could do it as material, but material, you won't be able to do it so that they could edit it, right? Material is just view only, right? So you're going to hit create and then assignment. Now, we have a place to put in our title, which we will. I'm just going to put in test question. So I want to put up a Jamboard that's going to be going to be a questions of the day. So say questions of the day, and I want everyone to be in the same Jamboard working on this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm down here now. Unfortunately, in Google Classroom, sometimes you can go, you can attach a new item. And if I click that now, you can see Jamboard is not here. So you can't do it that way. Like you could start a new doc. So if you can hear noise, I think the neighbors just arrived, two of my kids' friends, because it's after 3, so it might get noisy upstairs. So I go instead to Google Drive. Now I've already got this created. So I'll show you here. This is what I got created. Just questions, just 5 questions of the day. Whoops, I'm going past. 5 questions of the day that I want students. Maybe this is something I do regularly. Students just to put stickies around and answer these questions or add to it together collaboratively. So back to Google Classroom. That's already created. So I'm going to go back one more time and do that. I hit Google Drive. Whoops. Oh, I'm getting that right now. Weird. I'll just refresh my screen. So create assignment. I'm going to say cue of the day and Google Classroom. So recent things I've opened come up, which is fantastic because I usually never have to look for something when I'm putting it in Google Classroom because I've already just worked on it or created it or it's there. So as you can see, the test questions of the day are right here. Okay, if not, just head into My Drive, find wherever you put it. But Jamboards don't really work that way. You can't really organize them into folders, sort of. So what you just create is going to show up in your recent. So if I click on test questions, I'm going to hit insert. Now this is going to be a collaborative one. Right here, as you can see, students can view files. So they're only able to view it right now. If I hit that drop-down menu, I can change that to students can edit file. Excuse me. The other one is students make a copy for each student, which is what we're going to do next. So if I hit students can edit this file, and then if I want to, if I have a topic, like if it's language arts or something like that, I can make a topic for it. And then I just hit assign, like you would any other assignment. So I always change this to ungrade, and I don't ever put a due date, well, depending on the grade. So I hit assign, and then that'll come up. It comes up, of course, in the stream, and it'll come up under the topic if you placed it in a topic. Okay, then that'll look like to students. It'll look similar to you. This is not a student, by the way. This is my nephew, which is fine as there, and they're my two kids. So it'll come up, and all these students, I can't click on them. We're all in the same Jamboard right here under instructions. When I click on this is the same one we'll all work on. Individual student work is no difference to click on it because it's all the same one. Okay, so back to the classroom, and I want to do an individual one for students. Say I want to give an assessment if I'm trying to achieve the learning goals of labeling a Cartesian plane, or the first quadrant of a Cartesian plane, which is grade 6 math, like labeling the XY axes and stuff like this, and the origin and stuff like that. So I'm going to go classwork. I'm going to hit create. I'm going to go assignment. I'm going to go add Google Drive file. And I should see here somewhere recently, yes, Cartesian plane, first quadrant. So I'm going to click that, insert. And now instead of doing students can view file or students can edit file, I'm going to go make a copy for each student. So, and I'm going to call this Cartesian plane just for now. And then I could put it in a math topic if I had it. I could create a math topic, for example, math unit 5, something like that. And use capital letters, of course. And I hit assign, and you'll see that will pop up once it posts in a new topic, math unit 5, Cartesian plane. When I click on this now, this is the original Jamboard. So if I click here, there won't be any student work in this. This is like the template sort of. But if I click here on assigned, then I have my 3 students. Now I can't open it yet, and because they haven't been into it. So if I can't click on this, it tells me they haven't done it. Basically, they haven't opened it and started it yet. And I can't click on their work to view it until they actually go into it at least once, right? So then I could just simply click on each individual student and see what they've done in that Jamboard. Now, I think that's about it. Anything else, Stacy, you think I need to mention for Google Classroom with that?
No. Nicole did just ask, once you make a copy for each student, can you add additional frames after it has been initially assigned? So you can't actually do that.
No, you can't.
Same with Google Slides, same with anything. Basically, once you create an assignment and make a copy for each student, it basically takes a picture of the assignment at that time and then does it. So you can't actually go back and add it or put in an extra slide or anything like that. So you would have to assign a new Jamboard.
Now you can add it, but you have to do it individually.
Yes.
Right. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do the original. It would change on all of them. But if you wanted to add an extra slide for one student or something you missed, you could do that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were like a couple students need extra practice and you want to give them an extra, you can go into their project and add
Right.
things in, but you can't do it en masse.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any
All
other
right.
questions? How does Jamboard work with iPads? It works. Jamboard can be, well, not Jamboard, but anything really on iPad in Google Workspace can be done the same, but it's done very differently. And it does work. You just need the Jamboard app. And just like Google Slides and everything, it just is a little kind of a, yeah, it works differently, and it opens a preview first, and then you have to open it in the app, so it will go out of the Google Meet. So it's a little harder to use, but I think I know I had a grade 1 student last year using it, and it took a little while. It took a week or so, but eventually, they figure it out. And especially if they're an iPad user, you know what I mean? Like they know to double click the home button and all, what tabs you have open or what windows you have open come up, and they can just go back to the Meet and all that stuff. So yeah,
It's
it does work.
probably one of the easier Google Workspace
True. Yeah.
apps to use, I would say, because
Sure.
it's a little more touch friendly. But it is important if your students are on tablets that they know to download each of the Google Workspace apps individually. So they'll need to download the Google Jamboard app to be able to use it. So,
Yeah.
We kind of tell our students who are on tablets, make sure you have Meet, Classroom, Jamboard, Slides, Docs. Those are all individual apps that they'd have to download.
Yeah, and I find too, what I've done with my students, if they have mobile devices, I always have them. Well, I have them get the Google apps, especially Google Classroom, and they can actually open the Jamboard on their phone, and then they could actually use it like a tablet better and write with their finger, much easier than they can on a computer. So they're going to be filling out anything or something like that. And like an iPad works wicked for like the littles if you're doing some kind of like a connect the dot or something like that for, if you're an early finisher work, like stuff like that works much better on a touchscreen than it does, of course, on a computer, right?
Okay, so a couple more, I guess, tips and tricks with Jamboard. So I'm just going to present just from the classroom view again. So this is an example of an assignment I gave last year. And we were doing transformational geometry. So we were doing shapes on a Cartesian plane. And so again, when I assigned that, I would have assigned make a copy for each student because I would want each student to be able to do it individually. If I wanted to grade it, I could decide what I was grading it out of. I could set a due date if I wanted to make sure it was in by a certain time. And I don't have any topics here, but if I wanted to create a topic, I certainly could. So then I would go ahead and assign that to all the students. And then I'm just going to go into that and show you. So here, so this was one where they placed the following points on the Cartesian plane. So for example, 2, 4, 4, 6, and 5, 4. Okay. And then they had to connect the points using the pen tool over here. And one kind of tip or trick to do that, because if I did that by hand, I'm pretty shaky and it would not turn out very good, as you can see. So one tip to make sure you're using straight lines, getting straight lines, is if you hold down the shift button at the same time, you can create your lines. So if you have students, doing work like this, or for whatever reason in math, and they want very precise lines, they can hold down the shift button as they're using the pen tool, and then that's going to get them straight lines. Okay, so that's an example of maybe an exit card I would have given kind of at the end of a lesson, just to see if they got it and been able to kind of check in there using Jamboard. So that's one little tip and trick. Want to emphasize again the sharing settings. I know we talked about it when we did the Meet, but up here too, certainly where you have share, you can see who this is shared with. So in this case, it was shared with the classroom because I just called it sample classroom. And you can also change at any time. So if I wanted to share this just with anyone in NLESD, maybe I was sharing it with my staff, I can do that. And I can share it so they can view it or they can edit it. Okay. If I want to share it outside my school district, I can change it so anyone with the link can view. So maybe I want to, for example, send it home to a parent or a family member and say, look what a great job your child's doing. I can copy this link and send it in an email to them. Okay. I'd probably have them as a viewer because I don't want them to edit the work, but I could share it that way. So these are the same sharing settings in all the Google apps. So Ken asked a great question. Is there any way to access a protractor without using Smart Notebook? So you could find a transparent image via Google, save as Megan said, and then insert it into Jamboard. So if I go over to image, let's see. If I do a Google image search, I'm just going to look for protractor. And I'm going to look PNG or transparent background because that can help me find a transparent one. Let's see, maybe this one. Let's see if we insert it. Yeah, so I could insert that and then they could measure with that and they would be able to rotate it as such. So if they were to measure this angle, you could do it that way.
Stacy, there's also a Google Chrome extension called Protractor that remains interactive when it's in Jamboard. So it works just like the interactive one does in Smart Notebook.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just go to the Chrome Web Store and search a Protractor. You'll get it, and it's a full 360-degree one, which is nice too. Nice. And it's pretty simple, and it looks great in Jamboard.
Cool. Awesome. So another tip and trick, and I'm just going to stay in this Jamboard right now, but you can see here that I can't move this Cartesian plane. And the reason I can't move it is because it's not an image. Okay. So it wasn't added here. It is a background. So up here, you'll see, and I know Stephen went over this, set background, and you can put in your own. So one thing you can do in Google Slides is if you wanted to go to Google Slides, because it has the same dimension, Slides and Jamboard do. So if you wanted to design in here a activity, like maybe I wanted to do, and this isn't going to be a pretty one right now, but maybe I wanted to do a KWL chart, and I'm going to design it right here in Google Slides. You know, and I'd definitely make that look nicer, but for right now, that'll do. And then I'm just going to go File and Download as a JPEG. Okay. So if I download that as a JPEG, and I'm just going to save it. Okay. Then I can go back to my Jamboard and I can set the background and find that file I just saved, that KWL. And then I can insert that as a background for my students to use. Okay. So if you want to make something for your students to use and design it in Slides, then insert it as a background. They're not going to be able to move this around or anything. Whereas if I had just written the letters KWL with a text box, they'd be able to move it around, delete it, all that kind of thing. So that can be a trick little tip there. The other thing is you can certainly, as Stephen mentioned up here, you can duplicate the frame or delete the frame. So that background saves only on that frame. Okay. Now, if I wanted to use this multiple times, like I had done with the Cartesian plane, I could just duplicate it right here. Okay. Duplicate. And then if I want to get rid of a frame, maybe I did one too many, I can go up there and delete it as well up here. Any questions there? And the last kind of, I guess, tip or trick is that you can also, maybe you do want to, I don't know, print this off to put in a portfolio, or maybe you want to share it to a parent, but not as a Jamboard file. You can go up here to the 3 vertical dots again, and you could either download it as a PDF, or you could save that frame as an image. Okay? In order to be able to keep it in a different format that's not a Jamboard format. So any more questions? We have a few more examples for you, and we'll be providing you with a slideshow that has kind of an asynchronous guide to Jamboard as well. Yes, Colleen. So yeah, Jamboard is typically what I would use as a whiteboard. Now I know some people might use Smart Notebook as well, but it has the whiteboard function. It's Google's whiteboard, basically.
I use Smart Notebook and Lumio now more than Jamboard. I used to use the Jamboard. Just find there's more functions and stuff with the other two. But for quick things, Jamboard is the go-to for sure. Plus, there's so many ready-made things, which we're going to show you some examples of now. It's really handy that way too. All right, so we'll open up for Q&A, but before we do that, I'm going to show you a couple of examples, all of which will be on a Google slide that we're going to share with you all. And I think Stacy will probably, I don't know if we could tweet out access to that maybe or something. I'm not sure, but it will be around to find for sure. So on the Jamboard or the Google slide we're going to send you is this, and on the 16th slide, basically this is just all information we gave you already. Go kind of just a quick overview of everything we've talked about. But on the 16th slide, there's the resources links, sample activities, and places to find more resources. So I'm just going to show you a couple of those. The first one is I call the Mega Ball Jamboard resources, which is incredible. When someone sent me this, I just about lost my mind. So it's a 11-page Google Doc full of over 125 ready-made Google Jamboards. You can just click on one. So say I want to grab this Boggle one, or look among I Spy Among Us. A lot of them are games, but of course you can rework them and stuff as well. Like there's some coloring ones here. So I want that. I just click on it, and then when it opens, I just go to the 3 dots here. Oh, it signed it as my personal account for some reason. That's weird. But I click on the 3 dots and then just hit make a copy. Okay. All right. I'm going to close that. So some other examples of what is in that you'll find in that Google slide that you'll have access to. For example, games like this 5-second rule, where students can play and they get 5 seconds to name 3 farm animals to pick a card. Next person picks a card, they get 5 seconds, 3 types of candy. Keep score using sticky notes type of thing. Talking circles, this is a connected one we use a lot. Students put their stickies around the chair. You see lots of versions of these around. Put your sticky on a chair, and then we use the rainbow as our talking piece, or you can use whatever you like as a talking piece. You can jazz that up. We did a camping one year when we took a virtual camping field trip. So everyone put their stickies around the campfire. We had our talking circle that way. There's a cool one, an Among Us themed. This is a game. This frame is a game, and then there's a checkers Among Us, and then there's tic-tac-toe Among Us. A great SEL game. I got this through Victoria Byrne, who is the guidance counselor at Connected. This is called Me and We. So it's just 10 questions. Down bottom, it just says ice cream. So you would ask the entire class, do you like ice cream? 1 being not at all, 10 being I love it a lot. Okay. So students would create a sticky, and they would just put their name underneath whatever. Whoops. underneath whatever they number they are for that question. So like ice cream, do you like sports? Do you listen to music, art, watching wild broccoli? You get the hint, right? Okay. I showed you this one great for assessment. That one's there as well. Here's a primary math daily calendar that you can use where students can click and drag, make 10 frames for whatever day of the month it is. Of course, they can circle whatever day it is. You can have a helper or someone do it every day. And there's tallies here to put tallies in. There's a couple other pages here that are all numeracy based. You put two numbers in here, greater, equal than, less to. They make them with the base 10 blocks, etc. Very good. And then back to the Jamboard one here, which is awesome. So all of them will and more are on the thing that you will have access to. Let's see. So what are some questions? Am I missing any questions here, Stacey?
No, I was just going to show how to send a link to a copy of an assignment. So I'm just going to take over for a sec.
No problem.
There we go. Hold on now.
I've been using that a lot lately, actually, the copy to assignment. It's
yeah.
I keep forgetting you can do it, and it's really handy.
Yeah, so sometimes our Google Classrooms, this one's not because it was a sample just for this, but our Google Classrooms can get super overwhelming with tons of stuff on them. So Rachel had asked earlier, is there a way to send students from a Google Meet into an independent Jamboard where students are all working on their own thing, or would they always need to go through an assignment? So the only way to do that would be to send them through Google Classroom. They will need to go through an assignment, but instead of kind of telling them, well, you need to go to Google Classroom, then you need to go to your classwork, then find this topic, and then find this, you can send them straight to the assignment itself. So this assignment here is called Shapes on a Cartesian Plane. And if I go over to the three vertical dots, you'll see Edit, Delete, or Copy Link. Okay. If I copy that link, and I can put it in the chat now, but you're not in this classroom, so it's not going to work. But what it's going to do is it's going to take you straight to that assignment. So I'm just going to show you in a blank window. So if I was to copy that into this blank window, you can see, because I'm in that classroom, that it's going to take me, it's going to open up that exact assignment. So instead of having to kind of tell students, go to Google Classroom, go here, find this, find that, you can put the link in the chat straight to that assignment. So they'll be able to click on it and do it right from there. So especially the younger learners that can be an easy way.
And Stacey, I find that really helpful for like if you're posting your at-home tasks, your asynchronous work. Right in my post saying what the students have to do, I will put links directly to what they're supposed to be working on at home that day, instead of having to have them go find it in a topic. If it's something that we use every day, especially because then they got to scroll down to find it. And if they're younger learners, then that really, really helps, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a little bit off topic, but I find too, like in the stream, if you want to avoid having like all your assignments come up in the stream, you can turn it off there and then have one post where maybe you have those links that Stephen mentioned. So the guide to Jamboard says that it's view only. Let me see. So the guide to the Jamboard itself, it doesn't force you to make a copy when you click on the link, but all the activities in it, it does. So, let's see. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, view won't. Oh yeah, Jill, you just answered that question for Jill. Did you, Stacey? Yes.
Yeah. So all the activities on slide 16, it'll ask you to make a copy of them, just so you're not editing the other things.
Yep.
All right. So we can certainly stick around if you have any questions at all about Jamboard. We have, I'm just going to share the links again, just so everyone has them. But thank you so much for joining us today. I'll send out an email with these links as well after. So, but I will put them here. And a reminder that our virtual PL series is going on, so you can check out more about it at our TESIC website.